Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Making Remote Sensing Work Across Your Global Mining Operations. My name is Dubrina, and I'm a Product Marketing Manager at Up42. I will be your host today. Before we get started, let me show you really quickly how to use the webinar platform we are using today. You can use the chat window to interact with us or let us know if you're facing, for example, any technical difficulties. Or you can use the dedicated questions tab to ask us any questions you like. Please do so because we will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the event, and we will also try to address your questions as much as we can during the webinar itself. And now, my favorite part, let me introduce our speakers. Today we have Pelle John, Head of Product, joining us, and Alex Bishop, our pre-sales engineer at Up42. And to give you an idea of what they will be covering today, Alex will talk about the challenges mining organizations face, and in particular, he will cover the problems of siloed teams, fragmented data purchases, and the missed strategic value of using remote sensing data. Pelle will then talk about how the Up42 platform can offer a unique solution to these challenges, and also will also give you some practical use cases and a real-life platform demo. And last but not least, please stay with us until the end, because in addition to the live Q&A I mentioned, we'll also give you a sneak peek into some of the amazing features our teams have been working on that will be available soon on our platform. And without further ado, Alex, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sabrina. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. So it's good fun working on these and presenting to the community, to our users and customers, and hopefully future customers too. So for my section today, the idea is to hone in on what we've identified as challenges for the mining industry in getting access to remote sensing data, Earth observation. And these silos, right? How mining companies get stuck in remote sensing silos. There we go. All right. So we tried to lay out in this slide how we see the industry and the challenges that companies have to go through in order to get access to data. And the main thing here, if you're to remember something, is that everything is fragmented. On the user side, typically, the challenges are that, especially for large companies, teams in charge of going after and procuring data might do so in their own environments for their own projects. So they might go and approach one provider for a data set that makes sense for one project, while another part of their company is going to go to another to get a different type of data, right? Could be SAR, could be elevation, could be optical. So on the user side, whether they're big companies or even medium-sized ones, it can be challenging to have that aggregated, approach to going after data sets. And then there's, the industry itself, all these different providers working in their own ecosystems. And there's these challenges of getting involved with them. It can be, a certain commitment level in working with one of the big providers. It could be a monthly subscription. It could be a variety of things that create challenges in working with them. Of course, on the deliverable side too, if you're one part of a team has connected to one provider, and they're going to get deliverables from them, well, it's not obvious for other parts of your company, perhaps, to discover those assets that have been delivered, and therefore it's a bit challenging to reuse them for your own projects if they're helpful. So the idea of like the inefficiencies on that side too, whether they're formats, whether they're just different platforms that you need to go and look at. And of course, all these data sets then feed into multiple GIS softwares and platforms in of their own. So again, the fragmented kind of state of the industry, or the fragmented kind of process of going after and getting data, is a challenge. And that's what we try to kind of like address. Here we have some of the key challenges that we've heard from mining customers, and perhaps these are experiences that you've run into also. Typically, with this fragmented kind of approach, these silos, you'll have reduced buying power. If each, team, let's say, is going after data sets for a specific project, you're kind of like diluting your purchasing power, right? You're not going to benefit from volume discounts, things like that. So that's one thing too, right? Another thing is like wasted time and resources. Here, what we mean is like if you need to approach each provider on your own, instead of using a platform such as Up42, well, you need to dedicate internal resources. So maybe someone to go after and negotiate contracts or specific terms of licensing, right? EULAs. You need to dedicate engineering or developer resources at building the API connections, maintaining those, understanding the documentations, the products, the processing levels, and also inheriting then the fragmented kind of like support system, because you're going and have to figure out, okay, this data is from this company, who do we talk to there? So this fragmentation really makes kind of like navigates its way into your own processes quite far. Duplicated data, excuse me. This is something we've seen, right? Like especially for bigger companies, it's easier for separate teams to buy the same data twice instead of trying to reach out to another part of their company to see if they have something that can be helpful to them, right? If you don't have like data management systems in place that can be easily shared within an enterprise business and whatnot, and it's difficult to discover ordered data, or someone has the credentials for the platform from a provider, but you're not sure what the process is, sometimes it's just simply easier to just go and buy the data again. This is something that we've seen and heard of from the industry. And then, again, missed strategic value, so reusing imagery through the life cycle in different stages. So those are for the challenges. What we propose and what we try to offer at Up42 is to provide access to kind of a centralized platform for simplifying access to data. We have gone out and negotiated and connected to all these different data providers, so you don't have to, right? That's the main idea here. You save time, you save on your internal resources. You can go and benefit from our partnerships, right? We have this big network of partnerships. And that's our role. That's the value we provide. We unify everything into one API, so your developers don't have to understand the APIs of all the different providers and the nuances of them. You can rely on us because we have done that work for you. The centralized platform to discover data from a variety of providers in one space. If you use Earth Explorer, for instance, to get access to open data, same idea. You go to Earth Explorer and find a bunch of stuff there for open data. Up42, kind of that same idea for commercial remote sensing data. Of course, the platform then builds on that. We provide other services, and we'll look into those in a minute with our head of product. So you as a customer, you have this one resources, and you break away from these silos, from this fragmentation, whether it's from data discovery, order management, like where are we in these orders, these tasking missions, and of course deliverables, like everything is unified in one space. Your entire company, a bunch of users under an account can come in and check and see what's available where, and data sets can be discovered easily in one unified format, like we'll look in a minute with our stack implementation for delivered data. We have a tremendous amount of collections, data sets that we provide access to. I forget the number, but I think it's over 70 collections, 80 collections, distinct collections that we provide access to with different processing levels on top. We want to bring data to the people that need it, at the processing levels that they need, whether it's archive, whether it's tasking. And we hope that our platform kind of like provides that in a nice, convenient way. And we'll look at a demo in a minute, but for now, we'll shift over to Pele, our head of product. We're lucky to have him. So Pele, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Alex, and also from me, a warm welcome to today's webinar. So what we want to do, and Alex already told you a bit about the pain points which customers which are using UP42 today are facing and how we help them to minimize friction, to get the data in the right people in the right time. We want to be this one geospatial platform and marketplace where we really simplify the data access, streamline the management of it, and empower the imagery processing on top of it. And what we're particularly proud of that is we are a team of 100 employees right now, headquartered in Berlin from over 30 countries, which try to enable this bold vision with so many technical challenges to solve. If we're coming to the platform which we are offering today, we have our data services, and you have two ways to basically acquire an image for the right time, for the right location. Either you go for catalog or for tasking. Tasking means you can actually acquire a new satellite imagery for a specific acquisition date range, for a specific price and the right processing level, but it also comes with a higher price point. You might be very lucky with the extensive archive of dozens of collections which we offer that somebody else maybe tasked it already, or the provider itself was in the right time and for the right price already over your respective location of interest. Therefore, you can acquire the archive data to a fraction of the price. You can do this from multiple providers. You can see the coverage. And what is really important is that one provider is good. Having 10 providers to choose from, that gives you real power because you can basically complement them with each other, which we see daily with our users on the platform. If you still have an area which is not covered by the catalog, then you can task in your imagery, which can happen in terms of minutes, where you basically place an order for the right area, for the right price and the right processing level, so you can use it downstream for your specific use case. In this specific webinar, global mining operations. Then we do the whole orchestration and the ordering process. And when you actually ever dealt with geospatial data or different providers, you will know that all of the different data comes in different formats, different file types, different shapes. And what we are really proud of is that we are taking this complexity away from you by offering a standard, an open standard, the spatial temporal asset catalog, where we are optimizing the formats and cloud-native solutions for easier downstream integrations, where you can complement collections in different satellite constellations with each other. In the end, sometimes it might not be in the right processing level. You need to apply pen sharpening, or you have vector data for aerial campaigns, and you want to co-register it with a recently tasked imagery from Maxa 30 centimeter Legion constellation. So we offer that capability too, because in the end, each provider processes the imagery still a bit differently, and we try to bring it closer together for you to basically fulfill the need to get the data to the cheapest price and the right time in the hands of the people in your organization who needs it. If you're having all of these capabilities, what you will need is also the underlying platform services, meaning you normally don't have only one user on the platform orchestrating the operations, but sometimes dozens or hundreds. So we have an account management where you can add users, give specific permissions, as well as buying some credits and also do your controls. Then, more than ever today, it's important to have the compliance completely automated. We check that only users on our platform come with the right intent, with the right use case. And we make sure that whatever you're using UP42, you can trust that we'll be doing our checks thoroughly. And in the end, the payment services, because in the end, you don't want to not always get an invoice which you have to pay, but sometimes just swipe your credit card to get already the imagery which you need. What is most important is that we want to provide it to organizations who scale, meaning we have hundreds, thousands of users who come to our platform and occasionally order an image, which is perfect for our web interface, or what we call console, where you can do all of the operations just in the web browser. But if you really want to enable dozens of projects, potentially thousands, then you want to go into the API and automate your processes. And we built for free a highly scalable set of APIs where our everyday users are placing thousands of orders in the matter of seconds, processing them in our cluster. If you don't want to use our REST APIs, you can also use our Python SDK, as we know that some of our users are geospatial experts who are very familiar with the typical Python libraries like Rust.io, GDAL, etc., therefore tending to use either the terminal or the Python SDK for easy operations and an abstraction of our API methods. If you want to go even further, you can use our S3 ArcGIS plugin, where you can search for imagery and order it for your operations and also use them in your respective GIS environment. Lastly, geospatial data is sometimes complex and you're missing some information. And we have an amazing customer success team with very strict SLAs to answer your questions, technical support, and also help you with the integration in case our documentation is not sufficient. And if you have some specific questions to the provider limitations, the minimum order size, the processing levels we offer for our constellation, you can look into our documentation hub, which is sometimes more used than the provider's documentation itself. We have a lot of different data sets for mining. If it comes down to optical satellite imagery, we have the top players in the industry, like Pleiades Neo, Maxar, or 2180 and Black Sky. If you want to go more into the aerial imagery, so aircraft campaigns, you can get imagery from Vexel, Hexagon, Get Mapping, Blue Sky, and Near Space Labs. Or very specifically also for the mining use cases, and Alex will tell you a little bit more about it, the digital elevation models, where we work together with companies such as Intermap with the NextMap products, Airbus with their WorldDem, the Hexagon and Vexel elevation data sets, and also the Airbus elevation, where you can task a satellite to directly process the elevation data in 0.5 and 1 meter resolution. Now that I told you a little bit more about the platform itself, I would like to hand over to Alex again and tell you a little bit more about the example use cases and give you, in the short time we have, a sneak peek demo into our platform.
Yeah, thanks, Pele. Thanks for laying out all the platform's capabilities. So we're going to look just at some data sets and use case that we put together for the webinar. And this kind of ties on to past experiences, or we've seen that there's a value that can be derived from this type of data for mining. This case, not necessarily exploration, of course, but more like monitoring mines, whether you are operating that mine or you're an investor in that mine. We've seen that too in the past, where for investors, it's cool to have an idea of what's going on in the field, kind of cross-check, validate reports, things like that. And so these data sets, specifically off the shelf, in this case, Vexel Archive, optical and elevation, can be really, really interesting and powerful because they're such high resolution, and where available, and you can find that in the archive. We'll look at that in the platform in a minute. They can provide a really high quality in terms of location accuracies and resolution, a benchmark of conditions in the field at a specific point in time. And then you can iterate on top of that, right? So the idea would be, we have this very high resolution benchmark, again, resolution and accuracy, and then we can go ahead and do some tasking on top for maybe very high resolution optical, Maxar, Airbus, whatnot, or a custom elevation model, elevation 0.5, elevation 1, whatever the need is, whatever the budget is too. So there's these different approaches that can kind of be planned out and thought of from an operational point of view to get kind of the data you need, whether it's for monitoring or other applications over time. Again, we're seeing this to be in conjunction with LiDAR. At times of the year or parts of the world, these sites tend to be remote, and it can be expensive or challenging to get LiDAR crews out there. There's value in being able to kind of go after these data sets to monitor, to keep track of things over time remotely. Again, this cannot replace extremely high resolution, high accuracy products such as LiDAR, but they can fill the gap. And you can kind of lay out based on budgets, based on accuracy needs, the questions you're trying to answer, which data set makes sense. That ties into the value of our platform. You don't always need the most and best data, but it just depends on what question are you trying to answer. And you can, having options, which is what our platform provides access to, right? Options in data sets, options in collections, options, whether it's archive or tasking, will enables you to do so much more, right? And allows you to be kind of like resilient in being able to do what you need to do. So in this example here, the idea was to look at monitoring benches and faces in a mine in Nevada. And you can see with this really good elevation model, 15 centimeter DSM from Vexel, that the profile line, for instance, is really clean, right? It gives you a good idea of the state, the condition of this mine site, and you can then keep tracking that over time, which is really cool. We have some screen captures too. It doesn't give it full justice. It's just a screen capture. The interesting thing here, though, is you can see some, of course, erosion happening there in the top left of the image. But there's also, and this is kind of cool, a lot of shadows, right, in this optical image. That is a limitation of optical. Having access to different archives can help resolve that, right? Not all images are acquired at the same time with the same sun angle and things like that. So different archives can help resolve those. But, and most importantly, elevation models can too, right? This is where elevation products are really cool because they are derived from multi-look, right? Optical captures. And so you will have data in one image where you don't in another. And the more images you have, specifically with Vexel, the obliques and nadir, you can start building these really cool elevation products. And again, you can see the erosions that are going on here, whether it's important or not. Instead of sending people to the field, this mine in Nevada is quite remote. So there's pragmatic, like operational value there for having access to these types of data sets. Again, look at the not the full site. This is actually just one portion of the mine in this area, but it looks really cool. And you can start seeing, like, I built in these contour lines, so you can, of course, derive contours, which are extremely important in mining, I believe, especially for understanding where the benches and the faces are and how they've moved. And then merging these data sets with other data sets you might have from the field, whether it's mobile LiDARs, whether it's aerial, whether it's static scanners, things like that. Cool. From here, I am going to share my screen, and we're going to have a quick look at the Up42 platform to see how you can go and find these data sets and what the platform experience looks like. So let me share my screen here. The idea here is not to do a full in-depth demo of the platform, but more general overview of the key, features: catalog, tasking, and data management. If you are interested in doing, a deep dive into our platform, please reach out, create an account. We can have an hour-long session, a 30-minute session, whatever it is, to help you discover all the cool features that the platform, offers. But we're going to focus in here on the catalog at first. Then we'll look at tasking again and data management from somewhat of a high level, keeping time in mind. So how do you find data? Of course, we have this really cool web map that, the basis of most archive discovery. We work in geography, geospatial. Well, you need a place to look. You can navigate around the world. You could type in coordinates. You could type in a place here. You can upload a geometry from file. You could draw things. I already uploaded one and have one saved into my geometries library. This is a really cool component of the platform where anyone under your accounts can upload geometries here and then essentially kind of come find them. There's this sharing functionality to our platform, which is really nice. And so it's a good place for bringing, areas of interest that have been built, validated, and can be reused by different team members. I have this geometry here. With this base layer, it's not clear what we're looking at, so I can change this and bring in our satellite base layer. Thank you, Mapbox, for such a cool product. You can see here that there's quite a lot of activity going on in this area, which is really cool. And we're looking at this site. I'm going to remove my geometry so you can see that in this base map, we can see there's some sort of activity going on, which is pretty neat. Let me load that again. And you see when I load my geometry on the left here, you'll see the platform is actually running the archive search for us already based on the different filtering parameters I have. The cool thing with the platform too is that the experience is the same regardless of the product or type you're kind of like interested in, whether it's optical, whether it's SAR data, which is loading here in a second. There's no SAR data in this area, so we would suggest tasking, whether it's elevation, right? And these are all the off-the-shelf products available over this collections, I would say, over this site. They are sorted from highest resolution to lowest, and if you wanted to kind of like dive in more to any one of these, for instance, I use the Vexo Aero Ortho, you can open up this card here. There's only 2 images available, but sometimes there's a lot more. You can then see the full kind of list of data sets available. We can toggle on the coverage. You can see Vexo acquires kind of large footprints at different points in time. But you can also see the frequency here, which is kind of cool. So this is where satellite or space-based data acquisitions are quite interesting because they can fill in the gap. If you're interested in a product, you can select this box. It's going to compute the cost for purchasing this data set for you. And a cool aspect of our platform is that you pay for the data you need, okay? For most collections, not all, but the majority of them, you can simply get the data you need and not the whole scene. So if I come in here and modify my geometry and recompute the price, you'll see that it'll be cheaper. 600 credits divided by 100 to get the price in euros. And this is really how companies can, scale their operations and leveraging these data sets, because now instead of buying and committing to monthly subscriptions or like initial commitments and whatnot, you can kind of come and get the data sets you need to build a new geospatial solution, to test out processes, things like that. It's very low risk for you to kind of like discover and see if this works for you too. I can add this to my cart, and I'm going to keep browsing because I want to show you that you can also add, like I did earlier, other collections, at the same time. And you can then add this to your cart and add like an order name, my order, some tags, which are like identifiers that live with the order. And then you can go ahead and check out and do all the cool things. Let me back out of here. Orders can be tracked, of course, which is really important especially for project managers to see where things are at. And so that is the catalog aspect. If you can't find what you need in the archive, of course, whether it's optical, whether it's the dates, and I didn't show you this, but of course you can set dates in cloud cover. If you can't find what you need, then tasking can oftentimes be the solution. The tasking platform, same idea. If you don't have any orders, well, you won't see anything here, and you can click on create orders. If you do have orders, there's a bunch of cool new filtering mechanisms to see, the different statuses of your orders and things like that, which we can go over on another call if you're interested. In any case, to create an order, what we've done is we've created this really cool, simple, like 4-step process. We've put a lot of work, and I thank our tasking team for this, to bring pricing and tasking conditions visible to customers upfront. So you can make decisions. You can decide, what do I compromise on? Is it price? Is it resolution? Is it, the collection that I'm going for? Which enables you and empowers users to kind of decide, what to do without having to email, call us, whatnot, right? You can figure things out somewhat on your own if you want, or of course you can reach out and we can discuss things. There's no issues there. we have a ton of data sets that you can choose from, right? At a variety of price points. I can toggle on a few of these. I can bring them in. I can load my geometry again, and I can kind of compare them. You can see that the platform will give you warnings sometimes because it won't meet some of the minimum requirements. Again, we can go over these on a call if you wanted to discover the full kind of nuances to different collections. Here, if I'm interested for, say, in this geosat, I can kind of toggle this on and go through the ordering parameters. Let me bring this one in. I think I might have some templates. We can save some templates for ordering parameters, configurations, things like that. Again, we can go over this in another call if you're interested. And because I want to keep some time to go over the data management space. So one of the important things that we've done at Up42 is unify things on the deliverables side. We've come to realize and understand that having a central area for customers, especially at enterprise level, but even smaller companies, of course, to see all the data sets that have been purchased by an organization or an account was quite powerful and helpful. And so what we've done is we map all the deliverables from the different data providers to a common metadata structure, let's call it, which is built on Stack. So perhaps some of you are familiar with that. And what this allows us to do, not only does it allow us to bring the data to users in these really elegant kind of like UIs. Of course, everything I'm showing right now can be done through code, right? Whether it's our API or our SDK. But in this case, we're showing you the UI. So what we can do, thanks to this integration or this standardization and uniformity in our metadata structure through Stack, is that we can then enable a lot of filtering mechanisms. There's a lot here, and you can decide which ones work the best for you, whether it's simply using order IDs, whether it's using tags like I added in the other order over there, whether it's searching directly for a collection, or just a keyword in a search in a title that you might have used, okay? And what this then does is that, we can focus in on, how to say, like, again, bringing the data to the different team members that need it. You can see here on the left, we can kind of like toggle on and off different metadata parameters, and the Stack system allows us to kind of extract all the different metadata that's made available by different providers, right? Here, then what we can do is we can bring you in a consistent format all the different assets or deliverables, whether it's the raster cloud optimized geotiffs, whether it's the vector, say, cloud masks, and make these available in this space for retrieval, whether it's for streaming, whether it's for download, okay? The cool thing with this is it's unified regardless of the data provider. So the system, the interaction that you'll have with this will be the same, whether it's, say, here, Playad, whether it's Spot, whether it's Geosat at the top, whether it's open source, okay? Everything is kind of built in here. You can load these layers here onto the platform and view them, of course, download them. Simply download the bands you want or the whole deliverable. It's all there for you to interact with, okay? With that, I will stop sharing my screen. Again, if you guys want more in-depth kind of like view of the capabilities of the platform, please feel free to reach out, and we can kind of dive into the value that we can bring you. Next, we'll just pass it on back to Pelle to look at kind of like the features that are coming up soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Alex, for this presentation. Love that you're showing our platform. So last but not least, what is coming next, right? And what we have experienced is that especially mining companies or companies which are in the field of the mining industry, they have one problem. They have either a lot of teams because they're a large enterprise, or they have a lot of projects because they are a product innovator or a value-added service provider, which has dozens of different teams potentially working on different projects, different budgets. And the one thing which you always have in mind is the commercial aspect of it. That's why we will also release this year the new feature which we call budget management, where we have controls and mechanisms in place where you can assign people to certain budgets, to certain descriptions of projects, and then have also a runtime for it. So you don't need to do all of this controlling and secure mechanisms actually on top of our platform. The second part is, now that we have users which are accelerating in terms of the users which are coming day to day on our platform for a specific mining enterprise, for example, they don't want that every user has the same access rights and be able to spend. It can happen quickly. So we will introduce some new Rosa worlds where you can actually give your respective users a certain set of permissions so they can sometimes just follow along your project, see what data is actually in, and use this data in your downstream use cases and projects. Lastly, what I really want to emphasize is that there's so much more data integrations to come, and especially this industry, and we just started our hyperspectral journey. So if we are looking into some of the use cases we are supporting nowadays, if it comes to land use changes or just site planning, we already support dozens of different mining corporations and mining businesses which are in the mining sector. But the hyperspectral journey just starts. We started with Wyvern this year, who already supports some hyperspectral data, and we will release some more hyperspectral providers in the coming month. And this will open up new opportunities for mineral detection, geological mapping, and hyperspectral imaging, specifically for exploration and prospecting. So please stay along with us, keep up with our updates, and maybe just try the Up42 platform out. It takes literally 1 minute to register. You don't need to have a sales call. And if you just want to use the platform and explore a little bit, it is just right here available for you at up42.com. So the first question we received is like, what are the most valuable data types your mining customers are ordering? And if I followed the chat correctly, I would say Alex answers this one.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Like, what we're seeing right now in data sets that are really interesting to the mining sector, of course, would be mostly elevation models. Elevation data sets are extremely important for mining operations. And of course, hyperspectral more and more. Although, hyperspectral is something that is still growing. I think by next year, we'll see a lot more demand there in terms of what we can deliver to, or what the industry at large can deliver. So at the moment, I would say very high resolution optical, but the leading data set would be elevation models, custom elevation models, right? Things like elevation 0.5 or whatever Maxar can provide access to also.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Then Nandini had one question. Is there a restriction of the geometry area you can upload to the library? In terms of square kilometer, there's none. There are restrictions in terms of the number of vertices and the creativity of drawing polygons or multi-polygons. I referenced already the geometry in our documentation hub, which basically gives you all the guidelines of what kind of geometries are we supporting. Sometimes mining geometries are really complicated. So if you need some help to simplify it or have some best practices, we can share them. We are happy to share them. Then you can reach us just with a short email, support@up42.com. But generally, you should be able to, most of the time, get the data you need directly yourself on the Up42 platform. Then maybe to the last question, what are the biggest challenges mining users face when switching to the Up42 platform? This is a difficult one. Maybe we can tackle that together, Alex.
Yeah.
I think the one thing which we saw is that especially large mining enterprises are multinational conglomerates, sometimes also with different subsidiaries, which are all having their own procurement contracts, purchasing power, as well as data interests. And they often purchase the data over the same location multiple times, or could combine their purchasing power in, I would say, more cost-effective decisions. That's something which we saw again and again. where I think we can really help. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. For large enterprises, the account structure is really important, and that's where things like that we're working on around extra user roles, user management is crucial, and budget management is something that we see as being crucial. Switching to the platform is also, we are a pay for the data you need. And so I think understanding the volume of data that you expect to consume, but I don't see that as a challenge. On the contrary, I see that as, if you need to get more data, you can. So it's safer to start with, hey, we have these projects, or we spent this much last year with this provider, and we want to do something different this year. Well, you can start with any commitment. It can be 100 euros, it could be 10,000, it could be $1 million. Our platform is able to kind of scale and operate at these different sizes of customers, right? And so there's I think like that aspect that customers need to get used to, that we can do anything. It's the beauty of our platform. You can come and pay for the bits and pieces of data you need when you need them, whether it's a railroad corridor, whether it's a mine like we were just looking at, whether it's a harbor, a port somewhere to look at, shipping, like, because we know mines that's the whole spectrum of mining activity, right? It's maybe not just the mine site itself, but it's everything and the infrastructure around it. And so, yeah, you can define some projects with some budgets, or you can come as you go, or you can do commitments up front. Like, there's so many different approaches, and that can be kind of a challenge to kind of think about and sort out and see what you want to do. But
yeah. And I think the last part, which I'm always most excited about, is that there's so many new providers launching and also being integrated on our platform every year. And sometimes it can be messy to decipher what kind of data you need for the right use case. And with our expensive experience, and I would almost call us the early adopters, we can help you find the right data for your right use case. And we are happy to help, because it's not easy to navigate industry. And sometimes you just need a quick alignment or a good read on our documentation portal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Then I think we covered all the questions. If I don't see anything else popping up right now, I would say let's call it a day today, Alex. First of all, thank you all for staying with us for the last 45 minutes. We hope we could give you an insight of what Up42 can offer to your use cases, and we hope to hear from you soon. If you have any questions, as we said, reach out or just register on our platform. And we wish you all a wonderful day, and see you probably in your next webinar or a similar activity. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.